Hey, this is Gene. This is like the fifth time I've started this. My older dog, is just, I guess, can't deal with the fact that I'm not in the house with her. Normally, I do these videos later in the day. I got up this morning and walked with my wife. So I started this around about 7. I'm at 8 now. And but anyway, this is a continuing series I'm doing on Deon Sanders, and if his little template that he's doing in Colorado is good for college football, or is it killing college football? So before I get there, I just want to talk about what happened this Saturday. They lost um, pretty decisively. I mean, they were down 35 to nothing at halftime. It was like, I think that all these people on Twitter had their stories already out. What's crazy to me, there were a lot of people that are in sports media that actually thought they were going to win the game. Didn't see it. Things can happen in high school or in college football. It can. But I saw the fact that Sadar, his son, the quarterback, was just getting killed, and Oregon had a team that was going to really pressure him, and they have at least the same level of athletes or higher, and they're at home. I expected they would lose by at least 4 touchdowns, and just guys are just on bandwagon, which is fine, whatever. But it was like all these people were ready that at halftime they had all that set up. So as soon as the probably in the fourth quarter, all this stuff started pulling out in my Twitter timeline or whatever. All these people I've never seen before were in there, and they're all defending Deon. And then at the end of it, they're like, the only reason people are upset is because of this and that and this. A lot of it was because he's a black, arrogant, whatever. And at the very end, the only reason why you're upset is because you know why. And I'm like, wow, this sounds like some of the people that responded to my videos, that because I don't look like Deon, that I can't have an opinion about his impact in college football. And okay, let's just say that I'm going to say that there's probably less than 1%. That's the only reason I'm saying anything, because he's black. Because I don't know, right? Uh, it has nothing to do with that. I don't personally look at things like that. I look at him as an individual person. I understand where he came from. I understand his persona that he has. I also understand what he did at Jackson State. And I understand the first time he walked in with the Colorado people. All that, I have a bias there because I thought what he did was wrong in both areas. However, you got to give the guy credit because they won their first 3 games against TCU that was in the championship game last year. On the road, got to give him credit. The other issue I have him is he doesn't discipline his players correctly, in my mind. People are going to say, Gene, you're just an old school dude, and this is cultural. I don't think it's cultural at all. I think there are very hard disciplinarians that are black coaches. I don't think that saying that just let kids do whatever they're going to do because Prime used to do this in college football or in the pros is not a good look. I don't like the fact that he talks about himself instead of the team. You can go. I like the fact when a coach says, if you have any problems with my team, talk to me about it. That's what a coach should do. But after they lose to Florida, after Oregon, he said, you know, he gave credit to Oregon. He said that they outcoached us, they outcoached me, they coached the team, all that stuff. And he says, but this is the worst I'm going to be. Okay. That kind of got me the wrong way. I don't think he should have brought himself into that, because he's like going to get more and more players in. So these guys are still on the team now that he somewhat said, you can stay with me another year. Well, now they have to worry about, is their spot going to be gone? And this is what's going to happen with college football. You're going to have turnover at a high level. I mean, 30, 40 players. And every year, it's going to be like free agency in college football. And okay, I'm older. I don't think that's good for college football. It's not good for the psyche for young men. I don't think that they should go and transfer 3 or 4 or 5 times. I don't think that money should be that involved. I don't think that it should be the number one thing. It's just there's a lot of things here that I want to talk about, um, and it's just my observations. But my issue is this: before I go to that, everything I say is based on what I see, where I think it should go, what I probably think it's going to go to. Has nothing to do with him racially at all. Other than the fact that all we can say is that in the elite schools, they're mostly black players. Okay, and the culture has changed a little bit. But when you're a coach of a team sport, there's a hierarchy, and I think that should be cherished. And I think there's a part of being disciplined and play with respect and do not disrespect the other team. That's just how I feel. That's how it's always been. So I saw some things that he's done and how his kids have acted, and I don't think that should be criticized. But I should not be looked at as somebody being saying it's the only reason I'm doing it is because he's black. So so on Twitter it just blows up, and all these guys are saying the same thing. It's almost like they had everything set up for this because they knew at some point he was going to lose, and they just put it out there, and they have all this stuff, and at the very end it says, "Here we go." And one of them that was probably the most egregious was RG3, a former, I think, Heisman Trophy winner at Baylor, a school that's very, for universities, one of the more conservative places. He's always had white people around supporting him, especially at Baylor. But his whole thing is that him and Danny Cannell, who's a Florida State, I don't want to say he's a legend, but he played quarterback for us. We had pretty decent teams with him there. Didn't win a championship though. And I like him, pretty much. He's more of a conservative pundit. So I just don't. I'm not just individually calling him out. It was everywhere. He wasn't, but he was the guy that I know more of, that I've actually followed for a while, and Tanny Canal and all those guys. But there were so many other people, mid-tier media guys saying stuff for people that blue check marks, may not have been anybody, but it's just everywhere, right? So I'm like, all right, this guy works in sports media. He announces games. He played at the same time that Danny played. They clearly know they played with a similar type of culture that's around now. A little bit more now. Social media was a little bit more obviously involved, and Danny was there and all that stuff. But it's not that. It's not. It's just the next generation. You know, it's not that far away. Him and Danny went back and forth, and Danny said he just made an observation after the game that this was eventually going to happen, that all the 24/7 prime time stuff about Deon, that now people were going to be upset once he lost, and now people are going to defend him and all that stuff. And then they went back and forth and back and forth. And they continually show this, and at the end he says, "You know why?" And like, so he's a white dude, Danny Cannell, probably conservative, if I had to really think. Sound like some dog went flying around here. And I'm thinking to myself, why would he say that? You can have a disagreement about it. What are you talking about? You know, what does that mean? Explain to this Caucasian what that means. We can't deal with the fact that a man is successful because he's black. It sounds like a problem that what we keep being told that we have white fragility. This sounds like black fragility to me. It's like sometimes black people do not like their men to be successful in a respectful way. I mean, there are a lot of examples of very successful black men that I look at as an example, or as somebody that I would want my son to aspire to, as in the business world, or it's like it's like he's Deon is not like some sort of radical. He is the establishment. The establishment covers for him. They want this. They want this. What for? It's good PR or bad PR. It doesn't really matter. It's still clicks and everything like that. And that gets back to what the Oregon coach said. And people are going to say he's racist for saying what he said. Well, it's like, is he allowed to motivate his players? At least RG3 said that. But then later on, he said what he said. It's like, now everything I look at now, do I have to look at it as a racial thing? It's like I'm being pushed this by the media to make everything in a racial lens. Well, maybe he didn't mean that. Well, it's like everybody on Twitter said the same thing. Or they say, wonder why. What? His kids are undisciplined. They said shit after TCU, after Colorado, Nebraska, and then they did the same thing in Oregon. They went there, they defiled the field and did all this shit, acting like they run the place. And then after the game, one of their players went in and hit a fan. But you're not supposed to be doing shit like that. So as somebody looking on the outside, it sounds like he doesn't have control of his players. And somehow did he support this? Hit the biggest stars that they had went out there when they were playing Colorado State. They went out there and they used identity politics. They talked white trash to white players. Then they showed their jewelries and their watches, and I'm supposed to say that's okay. That's not arrogant. That's not, I'm the elitist, I'm the top school here, you just want to be me, and that's something we want to promote. Meanwhile, Sador, Anders, all these guys are at the highest. They're not the 1%. They're 0.001, regardless of your race in the United States. And this elite mentality, they can do anything they want to do. They can say whatever they want to say because there's only one place they were getting that from. In my mind, that's from him. And people say he's a great father. Well, and I'm like, the only standard right now in the black community, and the white community in a lot of ways, is that the father's in the house. So is that the standard? That's fine. But I think the standard should not be how he's teaching his kids. That's just my observation from here. And I look at the larger view of this is that and how he treats other people's kids. I still have an issue about how he left Jackson State, and I'm just going to tell you right now, if they go, let's say they go 8-4 this year, or 9-3, or whatever, and then next year they finish the top 10, let's say, they're probably going to get a lot of good players there. So, who knows, right? But what if Nick Saban decides to retire? You don't think there's going to be a huge amount of pressure on Alabama to hire Deon? And what's going to happen at that point? Do you think that he's going to say, no, we started something here, I want to stay here? Or is he going to say, you know what, that's the South, and I have to go in there and say, as a black man, I can win at Alabama, and it'll be all about that? I just wonder where you think we're going to be on this. Coco! This dog killing me today. Lay down. So, you just tell me what you think's going to happen. I know what will happen. He'll he'll leave Colorado. Well, he may not, because Boulder's a really nice place, and he's going to be around. It's 99% white. Not that it's a good thing or bad thing, but it's going to be that. I have no issue if he left Jackson because he thought it was too not safe for his family. We talk about white flight. What about black flight? What is this? They said about that we left the inner city because we couldn't deal with black people. Well, maybe there was the crime that was the problem. Or maybe the factories were no longer there. Stuff like that. It's not always about black people. It's not. It's like this whole white fragility. I think that people need to write a book about black fragility. It's just, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about people on Twitter and shit, because they're all like, "Oh God, I just can't believe anybody's going to criticize him. You can't deal with the fact of a successful black man." I'm like, "Oh my fuck! I thought we were past this. I guess we're not. You know, it's like, I'll be right back." Yeah, go. I'm not doing this again. So, whatever happens with this video, I'm just going to stick with it. Because I said I've been trying to do this for 3 or 4 times. And yeah, people are going to say, my responses have been, you know what, you're bringing race into it. I'm not, because they are, you know. But when I first started this whole thing, I wanted to have the overarching type of debate about it. Clearly, college football is dominated by black players. And I think a lot of people want a lot of black coaches to be involved as well. So we've been pushing this for 20 years, you know, to have more black coaches. My issue is that if you're going to have black coaches, I mean, of course you should. I want that coach also to be somebody that's going to look, those kids are going to look back 30 or 40 years from now saying, this guy has been like a father figure with me for my entire life. People like, you know, I'm not comparing Bobby Bowden to Deon Sanders, okay? Bobby was a coach for 50 years. But everybody loves the man. Everybody looks at him as a father figure. This guy would have done anything for his players. He had guys that were from the wrong side of the street, regardless of their race, but he did this. We had some problems. We had some guys that did some stupid stuff at Florida State. Nothing as bad as what happened in Florida, but still we had some guys that did some bad things. The question is Deon Sanders going to have that same type of relationship for his players? And maybe that's the part of the culture that I don't like either. I don't like what he did. I mean, there's still people in Jackson that still think he was a good thing for him, but all that's going to happen to Jackson State is it's going to be nothing again. And black colleges will not be nothing again. There was an opportunity there to do something, to make it like an actual destination for black players to go and raise up these historically black colleges. And that'd have been a great thing to see. You know, you hear it all the time. It's like all these players go to white colleges. Oh, you know, even though my population, my race is dying out because we don't procreate, and we have this guilt based on something we had nothing control over. So we're not going to be the majority anymore. Nobody should really care about that, but it is going to be a point that there's going to be some issues in this country. But whatever, as far as the question is that what Deon wants? So when I make the comparison, it says, in 2 years, let's say, and he said, good, he's not going to win the championship there. I heard people on Twitter saying that they're going to win the championship before, let's say, Oregon does. Oregon might win it this year, and they've been in the championship game. That they're going to win before that. So is he just going to go and get all the 5 stars they can get, and then if you're not good enough, they're just going to put the guy off to the side? He already did that already. He took people in, he walked in the room and said, most of you guys are not going to be here, without even a chance. I don't even know why you have no chance being here. I don't know if he looked at all the videos on these people or not. And like I said, I'm old school, I guess. If you're going to be a coach, you're supposed to get that person at the highest level they can be. And at the end of that, if you don't think they're going to be good enough, then fine. I think all he did is say, let's see how fast you are. And if you're not at this level, we're going to get you out of here. And I don't think he had anything to do with it. I think his coaches decided who was going to do that, and he just approved it. I don't think that Deon I don't think he probably does the game plan. I mean, I'm sure he obviously goes over it with the other coaches. He was smart enough. He's a guy, he's a CEO. He's going to go in and take in the best coaches around him to make him look better. And my issue is that's always about what he is. I mean, Nick Saban, he's got the most coaches of anybody in college football, and that's one of the reasons why he's very successful. You can do that way. You can go in there and be a CEO and then get rid of 80% of your team. And he said this today after they lost, or on Saturday after they lost. He said, this is the worst I'll ever be. His template seems to be that every year he's going to just continually reload and get rid of 50 or 60% of his players so that he can get the success that he wants. But what about the kids that he's doing this to? Now, is that just going to be part of the game? And that's really why this series even started. Let me put the dogs back in. Are you done now? No more barking, please. Let me finish this, old woman. So, that's why the series kind of started, and I knew by putting him killing college football that would cause some. But again, when I started this whole thing, I had like 450 subscribers. Now I'm over 500. Thank you for that. I just want to have the debate in the comments, and I want people to get on here and understand that it's just more than what they're. I'm 58. I've seen a lot of things, and when I make statements, it might sound foolhardy. And I said that racism was kind of like solved. I don't mean, obviously there's still racists. there's some issues with the prison stuff, and people still look at people just based on their biases. This is something that's human in nature. I mean, I might be able to do now. Probably not, though. I don't know that I could actually look at a Korean, Japanese, China's person, Thailand, Filipinos. I might be able to change a little bit and look at them and figure out. I probably wouldn't be able to figure out where they come from, right? But they fucking know. So, and they have racial issues right there, and they're all part of the same haplogroup. They're part of that group. Eastern Asians. So white people have that as well. It's not something that's just specifically a white issue. It's everything. And I had this, I was walking around, and this has been going on. Last 2 years, it's started happening. I go into Walmart and stuff, and I hear. It's usually black women, not always, but mostly black women. And I said, I live in a place that's, 40% black. So, okay, if it would have been 99% white and I saw the same thing, I'd say the same thing. But I'm going to say this is what I hear. They'll be on their phone and they'll be talking about stuff. And invariably it comes up, I can't believe that white-skinned woman did that. And I don't know, but this mixed woman did this. They broadcast their life and how they look at people based on just the color of their skin and what type of shade they are in the black community. And I know that people on here will tell me that that's being racial stuff, but I know people are also going to say they understand that. The black people will understand this. We have the same thing in the white community. It's not like all of a sudden white people became friendly with each other. We've had many, many wars against each other in Europe. And then we've had this issue when the Irishmen came out, or the Polacks we looked at as being stupid, and the Italians, because their skin was a little bit different, and their hair was a little bit different, and we called certain things about them, and we had words about each other. You got the N-word for that, and we have a lot of things for different groups of white people. Now, it leads you to another thing, like there's no such thing as being white, and there's no white culture. And all this shit we've been hearing the last 20, 30, 40 years. And all this stuff is in academia right now, but it's been pushing out to everything. It's everywhere. So there are a lot of white people who will not talk because they don't want to be, we don't want to be called racist and all this other shit. So we just sit here on the corner and not say anything. Well, that's not me. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And if I actually say that it's his culture made him this way, and the only reason why this is for Deon, Deon is because he's black, I'll say it. There's nothing there that says that. He made himself his own brand, his own personality, his own persona. Yeah, he grew up in a black community, but he was in southern Georgia. You know, very close to where Bo Jackson grew up. Same time frame. Bo Jackson is a conservative for the most part. Him and Herschel Walker. They're good old boys that almost like rednecks that were black guys. Deon's a little different. But later on in life, I bet he's probably conservative more now. But it's different. Those guys were, again, is this a bad thing if I say that Herschel Walker is soft-spoken and seems like a very nice dude and professional? Same thing with Bo Jackson, soft-spoken. Everything on their field as best his ability. All those three guys are probably the most talented guys ever. I mean, you look at Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson at their size, almost as fast as Deon. Just unbelievable athletes, right? And the guys I like Ward Dunn and Charlie Ward, soft-spoken, doing stuff in the community. When I look at man, that's the stuff I respect. There's nothing wrong showing that you're confident, but when it's always about you, then there's words for that. Deon is a narcissist, okay? But people are going to say you can't say that, and you can't say anything bad about a confident black man, because for so long they couldn't be confident because the white man was going to kill them. Okay, all right. There are so many gilding or guys that have no balls that are men or women, right? Or women. That's a problem too. They're white men that are so concerned that they won't say anything. And that's like I told you many times, in this community, it's about 50-50. We do have some Asians here, but let's say it's 45, and 10 other things, because we have Indians, Korean, maybe that's, yeah. It's more like 47 or something like that. It's like 100 houses. But it's about, I mean, between black and white, it's about 50-50. And it's just, this, I don't think that if I sat there and say, I don't really like how Deon is coaching his team, and I don't like the fact they're not very disciplined, then I don't think any of them would say, well, the only reason I think that way is because you're white. Now, they may have in the back of their mind, like everybody thinks that everybody that's white has this bias in the back of their mind, because no reason we're upset because he's successful because he's black. Okay. A lot of white people idolize the black culture, and then people get upset because they think we're culturally appropriating you. And I'm like, well, let's go the other way. Stop. The women, your women need to stop doing the whole weaves and shit. That's what are they appropriating there? It's like, but we should be able to do that, right? We should be able to appropriate each other, and that's the only way you can actually get along, right? We shouldn't sit there and say the white people don't have a culture. I mean, it's just stupid. Go to Europe. Look at all the stuff that we built. Not me, but obviously people in my background did. And why are we going down this road? And why they'll have this stuff in colleges? And why they have classes on toxic masculinity or white fragility or white privilege? Or I'm like, okay. It's strange to me. The people that I see complaining or saying stuff like that, they have a problem of anything. And it seems like the real fragile thing is a lot of these people. Not all of them are black, of course. A lot of them are white. These white liberals are probably the scourge of all mankind. Most of them, the white liberal women, are the most, they're the ones who allow all these migrants to come in their countries and just fundamentally change their country. And it's, but again, I don't know if I said it in the other one, so I'll say it here. There is a cabal of people that want this to happen just to basically divide us. Instead of me looking at somebody with my criticism, and then also to be joyful when, I mean, it's a great story for Deon. And I said this to my wife yesterday when all this stuff started popping up in my timeline, and then RG3 and his shit with Tanny Canal. I just sit there. I said this was a good story. You know, he was going over here. He's going to resurrect a college football team. He's bringing some excitement back to college football. I said, but I think he's gone a little bit too far. But I said, everybody online is defending him and all this stuff. And if you have any criticism for him, then apparently it's because you know why. I'm like, what? Because I'm white? Oh, and if I say it, then I can't deal with it. You know, it's causing too much upset for you. See how it bothers you? Oh, Lord, people. Go ahead. I mean, part of me wants to say, go ahead, just continually ride his Johnson for the rest of the time. And then as everything happens, the media will eventually turn on him if something happens. If, let's just say, some woman walks in and says Deon raped her 22 years ago, all of a sudden everybody will hate him. This happens all the fucking time to men. You know, when I tell you everything is directly related, I don't know what happened to Russell Brand. It's possible that he did bad things, but again, women were throwing their shit at him. He was very famous. It's doubtful he had to go find stuff to get it. Now he was on drugs, and he could have done something stupid, right? And this is where it might shock you. And my wife's the same way. I don't look at the accusers of Bill Cosby as being credible at all. I think that was in the 70s and 60s and stuff. They are all on drugs. It's doubtful that he had to go in and actually, unless he's got such a deviant mind that his best way of getting off was having a woman passed out. I doubt that that's the case. This man was having sex all the time. I think that was endemic at that time. Yes, even a black man could have all the sex he wanted in Hollywood back then. Everybody was on drugs. They were all on Quaaludes. All the stuff that they took everybody was taking. You cannot wait 40 years before you do stuff like that. I guess they had different times they tried to do this with him. And Russell Brand's somewhat closer to 10 years. It's just, I don't want to go down here because I'm already 33 minutes in, but this is another part of it, and it's all related. We will never look at women as equal until they take accountability in the bedroom. They just have to do it. If something happens to you, you have to report it. And if somehow the cops do not investigate it, then you need to go to the Deep TV or go to these advocacy groups, because they're everywhere. There's no reason why it would not be out there. And we need to teach our kids to do this. And men need to be very careful. They need to. It's a landmine out there for everybody involved at this point, because sex becomes so transactional that it could happen. There are so many people on the left. There's so much of this ideology that says that you can have sex with somebody, and then the next day she could say it's regretful, and then she could call that rape. And there are people that believe that, and they want that enshrined into law, that later on she could say that it's regretful and that's rape. People say, Jane, don't talk about that. We're already going down this road. We're already going down. Oh no, gay people should be together. I have two gay daughters, okay, but we have to sanctify them in marriage. Oh, people should do this. New should do this. And look where we're at right now. That we have 20% of the population that are young people look at themselves as bisexual, and it's going to get worse, because this continually gets the attention and the whoring and all this social media shit is killing everything. So again, but I want to try to stop right here. When I say he's killing college football, he is part of the problem, the product of the time that we're in right now. He's sliding to people's DMs to recruit them. He gets all the attention if you come and see me. I don't care that I ever coached before at a high level, but come here anyway. And then you're going to have all this attention on you, and you're going to be able to get your brand, and you're going to get all this money, and all that stuff. I think that you lose the ability to actually teach, coach, and develop leaders in men. And this country is starving for leadership from men, especially in the Black community. So I'm going to stop right there. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you watched all this, and hopefully that last little statement will understand where I'm at right now. Love him as a player. Have some issues of what he's doing right now, but there's so much of a chance here for him to develop a lot of leadership in the Black community for men. And I don't think he's doing it the right way. I think it's still all about him. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.